Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's Microsoft Excel VBA video, we are going to continue our discussion with the loops itself. In the previous video, we learned about the for loop and we took a look at the step keyword, and we came to know that when we use a negative value, then the step keyword would just execute the for loop in a backward fashion, which means from bigger value to a smaller value, okay, which is in the descending order. But when we just used it, there was no difference shown to us. Like in this value of h, we use the for loop in the backwards fashion, and in this column B and A, we used it in the forward fashion, but there was no difference shown. So in order to see this difference, you have to execute this loop in a step-by-step fashion. Right now, this is the same piece of code which I used in the previous video, but I am executing it in a stepwise fashion using the F8 shortcut key instead of all of the piece of code in one go using F5. So let's just write F8, and you can see that over here, that is x13 comma x14, which means m for 13 and n for 14. What I'm getting here is actually the values, okay. Over here I'm getting the values one by one, which means right now the value was 52, which was shown here. But if I just execute it once again, right now I'm in next, if I just execute it using F8, then I go at this value, and after executing this 52 and decrementing the value of x by 1, what value do I get is 51. If I just execute it using F8, then you can see 51 is shown over here. And again, if I try to execute it, then corresponding color value of 51 is shown. Again, if I just execute next, then 50, then 50, 49, 49, and so on. So this is actually how this thing works. You were not able to see the difference when we executed it in one go using F5 shortcut key, but you would be able to look for it once you use the step into function. So that's how the loop executes in the backwards fashion. So that's how the backward loop works, okay. So that was all about the for loop, and let us look at another example. Now this example is a for loop, but the reason why I'm showing you this example is so that you can understand that what all applications we can do with the help of loops. So I've created a new sheet here as sheet 4, and let's create a new module because we are creating a new macro. Let's name it as sheet name. Why we are creating this module? Because using the for loop, we can show all the sheet names that are present in the current workbook. Right now 4 sheets are present: sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and sheet 4. And if you want to cross check it, you can go to Microsoft Excel Objects in VBA, and you would be able to see for yourself sheet 1 till sheet 4 and this workbook, okay. So using this workbook object, how can we access all the sheet names that are present using the for loop is what we are going to see right now, okay. So once we have created a module, let us just create a subprocedure actually and name it as sheet name. Open and close the parenthesis, and it would automatically convert it into a subprocedure. Now once it's been converted into a subprocedure, what we need to do is write some piece of code, okay. So let's just declare a variable first, dim x as integer, because x is going to be our iterator variable, that's why we have declared it as an integer. And let's just use this x in the for loop. So it's going to be for x equals to 1, that is the starting point, 2. We need to find the ending point. Right now we know that there are 4 sheets available, so the ending point is going to be 4. But what if hundreds of sheets are available and we are not sure about the ending point? Then how can we just write it? We have to use some dynamic way of writing the ending point. Luckily in Microsoft Excel we get something like that. So for this, what we need to do is write something known as this workbook. Now this workbook keyword helps us to access the current workbook. When we put a dot, we get all these options available. So we have to search for something written as sheets. Now sheets S with an S is a plural of sheet. You have to use this function sheets, put a tab to use it, then again put a dot, and you will again get all these options. So you have to use this count function so that we can get the count of sheets that are available with us right now. And whatever the count is, we have to go to that particular value of count as the ending value of our for loop. And then you can just simply write next to make sure that you are ending your for loop well and you are not trying to get any kind of errors. Now within the body we have to just show the name of these sheets. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show the name of these sheets in the columns like A1, A2, A3 and A4. I want to show these sheet names. So how can I do that? Using the cells function, right? The row index is going to be nothing but the value of X itself, and the column index is going to be fixed at 1, which means at the column number A. Then equals what I'm going to show what is known as the names of these sheets. So for that, what I'm going to write is this workbook. Now this workbook is mandatory. Then you put a dot and then you write sheets. Now this thing is mandatory. Within the parenthesis, as you can see, as soon as you write parenthesis, it asks for an index. Now the index is nothing but our value of X itself. So write X, close the parenthesis, then put a dot and use this thing called as name, which means at the index of X, whatever sheet is there, we have to print its name. And where will this name go? This name will go at X, 1, which is nothing but A1, A2, A3 and A4 and so on. Okay, so that is our for loop, and let's us execute this using the step into function so that we are able to understand it's working in a better way. Right now the value of X is 1. This is the value that we are going to execute, and you can see as soon as it executes in the cell A1, we got the value as sheet 1. Then it goes to next. The value of X now changes to 2, and now sheet 2 is what we get in the cell A2. Again it goes to next. Sheet 3 is what we get in cell A3. Then sheet 4 is what we get in cell A4, and as soon as it completes, the for loop stops its execution actually, and it comes to end sub, and that's it. That's how it works. That's how you can access all the names of the sheets using the for loop, and you can actually display all these names. Now there were only 4 sheets, so that's why we have got these 4 occupants. If there were multiple sheets, if there were n number of sheets, we would have get the n number of names over in these columns up till n rows. The reason why we are able to do this because of this thing known as this workbook.sheets.count, which helps us to find actually the number of the sheets that we have. And if you just omit this statement, then what you can do is actually declare another variable. Suppose I declared mv as integer. In v I just store the same thing, and from from x equals to 1 to v, if I try to execute it in this way, then also I get the same thing. But let's just change the column number to 2 so that you are able to see it. Using F5 I just execute it, and you can see sheet 1 till sheet 4 we have got the values similarly as in the previous example. So that's how you can actually use the for loop. There is one more application actually. Instead of using this, suppose let's just clear all these contents, right click and just click on clear contents. Now instead of actually specifying a particular column number, what do is specify the dynamic column number, which means you want x comma x to be the cell, which means 1 comma 1 would be the place where this first value would be displayed, then 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3 and 4 comma 4 in a diagonal fashion. Then you can specify it simply as x comma x and the work would be done. So if you just click on the run button, you can see that the filling of the values is now in a diagonal fashion. That's how you can work with the values in a diagonal fashion using the for loop, that is not specifying the row number and not specifying the column number or the column index as well. So that is all for today's video in the for loop. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.